Hey guys, this is Ricardo Diaz with The Patriotic Immigrant, and I'm back for part two of my deep dive into the Clintons. Today we're going to be discussing James McDougal, Walter Scheib. We're going to be discussing Seth Rick and Sean Lucas. I'm going to replay the video that I played with my first part. Kind of what inspired this this podcast, this deep dive. So here you go.
Remember John F. Kennedy Jr.? He was declared the front-runner for the New York Senate seat back in 1999. Days later, his plane crashed into the Atlantic Ocean, and his rival, Hillary Clinton, was elected senator. Mary Mahoney was a Clinton White House intern. She knew enough of the inner workings of Bill's sexual advancements to be a star witness during the Clinton impeachment trials. She was brutally executed at a Starbucks she was managing in 1997. In 1993, White House counsel Vince Foster was found dead in Fort Marcy Park near D.C. He supposedly killed himself, and among a lengthy list of potential foul play, the bullet was never found.
Then there's James McDougal, a key witness for White House prosecutors. He was serving his 3-year sentence for bank fraud at the Fort Worth Federal Medical Center in Texas. And just before he was to give a testimony before the grand jury, McDougal suffered a heart attack in solitary confinement.
In 2015, Walter Scheib, a White House chef hired under Bill Clinton, joined the list. His body was found at the bottom of a river, nearly 2 miles from the base of the trail he was reportedly hiking. An autopsy determined that Scheib's death was accidental drowning, but he might have known too much. 27-year-old Democratic National Committee staffer Seth Rich was shot and killed in D.C. this year. There is speculation that he was the source of the controversial leaked emails allegedly sent by DNC staffers, and that he may have been murdered in retaliation. Then Sean Lucas, the lead attorney in a fraud case against the DNC, was found lying on the bathroom floor by his girlfriend when she returned home on August 2nd. His death was reported classified, pending the results.
Okay, so you saw the video and it looks horrible, right? It looks really bad. It makes the Clintons seem horrible, but there's no context, and obviously it's a short 2-minute video. There's no deep dive into anything, and they say a lot of things that are true, and then they sprinkle in other claims that aren't substantiated. Now, I'm not saying that they're lies, because I don't know. That my job isn't to determine a lie. My job isn't to do anything. My hobby is to do this podcast and present evidence based on a deep dive that I did that maybe some of you aren't able to do. So let's get started. The first one I'm going to be diving into is James McDougal. The fifth one I'm going to be diving into is James McDougal. He died in jail before giving testimony on the Waco standoff. That's what the video alleges. This one kind of appeared to be nonsense, right? He didn't have anything to do with the Waco standoff, and it just seemed like a lot of nonsense on the surface of my first dive. But then as I looked at it more, I discovered a failed business that he started with the Clintons called Whitewater Development Corporation. Now, he died in jail. Well, what was he in jail for? He was in jail for fraud related to the Whitewater Development Corporation. He was the co-founder with Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was the co-founder, but yet only James McDougal was sentenced to jail. And he wasn't sentenced to Club Fed for a couple of years. He was given 84 years in a federal prison, right? His testimony, his lawyers, his family, all of them were silent while this was going on. Meanwhile, he was in 1996 is when he was sentenced. So when Clinton was in office, the co-founder was never indicted. He never gave a statement. He never talked about this publicly. Yeah. The Clintons were dropping bombs on the Middle East on behalf of Israel, while living lavishly in the White House. Meanwhile, James McDougal was eating shit sandwiches because of Bill Clinton, or not because of Bill Clinton, because of the fraud he committed with Bill Clinton. But yet only one of them. And again, 84 years for fraud. How bad was the fraud? He died a couple of years into his sentence. I don't know where this video said that he was giving testimony on the Waco standoff. He was a businessman. I'm not sure where that came from. It's just interesting. He went to jail for 84 years for a business that he co-founded with Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was in the White House, and this man was handed 84 years in a federal prison. When it's a federal case, the commander-in-chief can intervene. He could have given him a pardon. He could have done anything to help his friend, and he didn't. And everyone was silent. The news, we've never heard about this. That's weird, right? That's weird. I'm gonna leave it at that. It's weird. The next up is Walter Scheib. He was a White House chef. He worked under the Clintons, and then he worked under the Bushes. He was fired by Laura Bush in 2005. And he didn't disappear until 2015, right? When he was in his early 60s, 61, 62 years old is when he disappeared. It was ruled accidental. It seemed fine. I'm going to attach something that I found online, right? You can search for histories. You can search for history of weather patterns in regions. Now, when I searched for the weather patterns on the day that he went missing, which was June 13th, I believe. He went missing. When he went missing, a newspaper clipping stated that there was a thunderstorm and he got swept into the river and he drowned, accidental drowning. All right. So then when I search up the weather, the only thing that comes up is a thunderstorms in the area, but that's not based on a weather report. That's based on that news article. So Google and Gemini is pulling the information from that article as its source. So when you go to the local weather page and then look at the weather for that month of June of 2020, I'm gonna link it so you can see the day that he went missing, and that week there was no rain, there was no storm. It's partly cloudy on the day he went missing. Let's say that was wrong, which it's not, but let's say that's wrong. Who wakes up in the morning, looks outside, sees it's cloudy and rainy, and then, I'm going on a walk by myself in the woods near a river at 61 years old? Who's doing that? Why would you do that? So again, that's strange. And then I'm like, well, why is that? What did he do that could lead someone to kill him? He doesn't have any, it didn't appear like he had anything bad happening while he was working for the Clintons, and it wasn't like he was fired. They parted ways. Him and Laura Bush parted ways, and he went on to be like a celebrity chef on shows and Iron Chef and whatever. But then in early 2015, right before his disappearance, he partnered with Atlanta City of Refuge, an organization providing services to homeless individuals and victims of child abuse. In early 2015, he stepped into the role of Chief Culinary Officer for the charity. He spoke against the Clinton Foundation. There's long suspected rumors and speculation that the Clinton Foundation does horrible things. The city of Atlanta stopped giving money to the Clinton Foundation and started giving money to the City of Refuge in early 2015. And then in June of 2015, this guy is killed by a spontaneous thunderstorm that swept him into the water while he was walking by himself next to a river at 61 years old. That is weird. Again, these things are just weird. But man, it's I guess because I'm looking for it, I'm finding it, but then at the same time, there's this little thing at the back of my head going, am I looking for it and finding it, or am I now realizing that it's more sinister than we're led to believe? And once you remove that veil, right, you take the red pill or the blue pill, whichever pill I'm supposed to take to be woke or to be awakened, you can see it clearer. It's weird. It's weird that, nothing happens, and then he wants to start helping children who were victims of abuse, which we all know when you mention abused children, one of the names that come to mind are the Clintons. Yeah, so that's weird. Now I'm going to move on to the next person. If anyone has any thoughts on that, feel free. Again, I don't know if it's because I'm looking for it and I'm finding it, or because I now believe that things are a lot more sinister and not just a weird case of happenstance. Right, so the next person is Seth Rick, a DNC staffer who was shot and killed for emails he leaked from the DNC. His entire thing is weird. Again, I think I mentioned in my last video, I studied criminology in my bachelor's degree, and I was in the military for a long time. I also worked for the federal government for a long time. So, not a long time, enough time, enough. Trust me, enough is enough. So, not that I'm a subject matter expert in muggings and murder and crime. I just happen to have, I guess, a clearer understanding, right? So anyway, he was mugged while walking home at night alone in a supposed high crime area. That's what a news clipping articles. That's what the legacy media is saying. But it was a really nice neighborhood. I checked crime statistics. It's not a bad neighborhood. But an article posted after said there's a spree of high crime at this moment, right? So after the fact he was killed, then there was high crime. Going back, they said it was they meaning the police reports and what was reported from legacy media, CNN, MSNBC, Fox. They all reported the same shit. These apparatuses all work for the same person, or they all work towards the same goal, not the same person. That's sinister. It seems like there's just one guy, like Emperor Palpatine, is sitting on top of the Death Star, whatever. That's not. These people work towards a similar goal, and they know that if they don't obey whoever controls the government, whoever approves their funding, whoever lets them go without paying taxes, right? The person that promotes them is the one that they need to please, and we all know the person in charge of the U.S. government is not the U.S. So it was a robbery gone wrong, is what they said. However, he still had his wallet and his watch. So then they said, well, that's because he fought back, and everyone knows when a victim fights back, the robber usually runs away empty-handed. That's not true. He fought back. But the police on site in the report, the police reported when they found him, he had been shot twice in the back and he was unconscious. So was he shot in the head and in the back? So was he shot in the head and in the back and unconscious, or was he fighting for his life? Which one was it? Because it can't be both. You aren't shot, and fighting for your life unconscious, and you're also fighting off robbers. So that was just a straight up assassination. Shot in the back and in the back of the head. That is an assassination. Now, how is he connected to anything? Julian Assange, right? The guy from WikiLeaks. He stated that Seth Rick was a DNC whistleblower, um, and legacy media said nope, nope. The guy who leaked everything is lying, but believe us. Then they said, well, it wasn't leaked. What's more believable? The DNC was hacked by a Russian group led by someone named Gustafer 2.0, or did someone worked in there, downloaded shit to a thumb drive, and then gave it to WikiLeaks? Which one seems more plausible? That being said, these are my speculations. I love my life. I'm extremely happy. I'm not suicidal. And then number 8 on the video is Sean Lucas. He was found dead. The video said he was the lead attorney in a fraud case versus the DNC. That one, if I were making a fake video, if I worked for the Clintons making propaganda, this would be the plant that I would give to. This would be like the plant evidence that I would give. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm saying this one is bullshit. All the research I did, Sean Lucas wasn't an attorney. He was, I forgot the name. He delivered documents to people that are being served. He basically a delivery boy. He worked for a company. He made like $20 an hour. Nothing wrong with that, but that's just what he was. He liked to party, liked to have a good time. Dude was found by his girlfriend. He OD'd on fentanyl, kratom, and muscle relaxers. The reason it got momentum is he made a video of himself serving the DNC with the papers on behalf of the Bernie Sanders campaign, and then the video went viral after the fact, and then now it's like, well, he exposed, the DNC, and he was like suing them and whatever, and who's in charge of the DNC? The Clintons. No, if the Clintons were really running the DNC, then they would have beat Trump in 2016. Hillary wanted her legacy, and she didn't get it. The Clinton legacy is stained by Bill's affair, and Hillary was supposed to redeem it, and she lost to Trump. Now, that's the game that they're playing. They're not playing the game about what's best for America. They're not playing the game about which politics are better for the American people. They're playing the game of legacy and who's going to be remembered and having fucking libraries named after you. So that's my deep dive on this. I guess my closing thoughts are, it's complicated, right? Do I believe everything that I said between yesterday's video and today's video? Half and half. I think a lot of these cases are weird, but I think most cases, if you do a deep dive, they're weird, right? Because murder and death and tragedy are horrible things, and sometimes we don't know how to accept it. So then it's got to be, something more for us to be able to justify the tragedy of death. That's what I believe. However, I do believe some of these things are really weird, and these coincidences, like the thing with the chef and him being an advocate for abused children and clashing with the Clinton Foundation, that is strange. There wasn't any storms the day that he died, but yet one newspaper reported that there was a storm, and that's what the whole internet, when you Google the weather for that day, it said it was a storm, and then the reference is that one newspaper. The reference isn't like a weather channel, it's that one newspaper. That's weird, right? That's weird. I'm not crazy, that's weird. I'm going to be doing videos on more current events. I did do some engaging yesterday on X and Instagram. I've never really been this exposed as a person before. Um, I don't think that I'm an important figure to listen to. I just think that I am gonna speak honestly about things that I believe that I know, and when I don't, I'm gonna research them. And if I encounter someone that has a different opinion or different viewpoint than me, I'm gonna address it like a man, and be courteous and respectful, and look him in the eye and shake his hand, symbolically, and I'm gonna be okay with it. There's no reason we can't have civil discourse. There's no reason we can't disagree honorably, right? And I have really thick skin. If someone wants to criticize me, that's perfectly fine. Like, this is America. If I'm putting this out on the internet publicly, I'm open to public criticism. You should be too. Um, don't ever become a victim, right? Don't ever become a victim, because as soon as you become a victim, then you are a victim. Um, that is my final thought. Again, I'll be making more videos soon. I hope you guys like, follow, share, subscribe. I'm not selling anything. Um, I'm not fucking sponsoring DraftKings and him dick pills. Don't spend your money on gambling. Invest it in the stock market. Do research. Use autopilot to invest your money. Fucking spend your money on gambling, on online gambling, and that bullshit. And you want to prevent having to use Viagra and other supplements. Eat healthier. Eat testosterone producing foods. Eat red meat. Work out. And stop masturbating. And I know that we joke about it, but I sincerely believe the things that I said, and I also practice them. Not every day. Not every day do I practice these things, right? Because it's a exposed nerve making difficult choices all the time. Sometimes it's gonna hurt, and you're not gonna want to do it, and you just won't, and that's fine. As long as you're winning more than you're losing the battle with your health, then it's a net positive, right? Not every battle of World War II was won by America, but the war was won by America. If you know, you know. Again, really thank you. I appreciate you guys, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one.